This episode is part two of my series, American Craftsmanship with Colonial Williamsburg Foundation's Craft and Forge brand, celebrating the makers who are preserving traditional skills while creating heirloom quality objects for modern life. When we think about American craftsmanship, our minds often go to furniture, pottery, handcrafted objects, but some of the most meaningful pieces in our homes are also the most ordinary. The sheets we sleep on, the quilts folded at the end of the bed, the linens that become part of family life year after year. Today's guest is Anna Brakefield of Redland Cotton, who built a family business with her dad around the belief that these everyday essentials should be made with care and in the United States. After visiting Colonial Williamsburg, they found inspiration in historic textiles and created a collection that honors America's design heritage while helping support its preservation. In today's conversation, we explore the journey from seed to sheet, the future of American manufacturing, and why the objects we use every day become the ones that tell our stories best. Here's my conversation with Anna. Welcome to Grandma's Silver, where tradition meets today. I'm Allie, your host of the Grandma Silver podcast and founder of the Grand Millennial Lifestyle. Here, we blend aesthetics with nostalgia, engaging in conversations with lifestyle brands, designers, and more to rediscover the timeless charm of the past. Join me as we journey from home to heart, illuminating the past and polishing the present with the gleam of Grandma's Silver. Well, Anna, I'm excited to talk with you. I want to have you go ahead and let everybody know who you are, and we can kind of take the conversation from there.
Yeah, so my name is Anna Brakefield, and I am the co-founder, co-owner of Redland Cotton.
Amazing. So can you tell us a little bit about what Redland Cotton is, what you're doing, and also maybe we can go with that and talk a little bit about kind of your origin story, if you will.
Yeah, Redland Cotton is a direct-to-consumer, farm-to-home business. So we take the cotton we grow on our farm and we make it into bedding, bath towels, blankets, some apparel, and it's all manufactured in the United States. So we see the process through from literally planting the seed every spring. Our farm is in North Alabama, all the way to harvest and taking it through our supply chain. And we try to share that story with our customer because we know that so much knowledge has been lost on not only where our food comes from, but where our products that we use in our everyday life come from. So that's a really big mission for Redland Cotton to not just supply a great product, but also give a good explanation on the how and the why.
Did you have the farm already and decide to go into this business, or did the idea for the business wind you up on a farm?
My dad has been farming since the early 80s. My grandfather purchased the original farm place, and my dad and his brothers and sister grew up on that farm, the original farm that's literally my family still,
That's
all
so
of them
fun.
still
Yeah.
live up there. So the farm has always been in place, and he has always been frustrated, my dad, about the amount that he was getting for his cotton, how it would fluctuate year to year, and how much of it was being sent overseas. It
Mm.
was always such a frustration point for him. I went to college and got my degree in graphic design, and I moved to New York City after I graduated from Auburn and worked in advertising. When my husband and I, at the time my fiance, when we got engaged and we moved to Nashville, I was still working in advertising, but I wasn't very happy with what I was doing. And then that's when my dad approached me with this idea, and I quit my job, started this.
Okay, so is Redland, is it safe to assume that that has something to do with soil, or am I
Yes,
off base?
yes.
Okay.
So when my dad had to name his farm, he named it Redland Farms because we farm the red clay soil of North Alabama. It's hard to farm. It's clay-like. It's not that rich, like Delta dirt, but it's still really good for farming. It's just got some added character and perpetually stains everything it touches. So,
Could we talk, I guess, a little bit quickly about products?
yes, when we thought to ourselves about what we were going to make, My dad had recently, in 2016, taken to Instagram, and his sister commented on this post that he had done about the ginning process and like this bale of cotton, that she would sure like some sheets made out of that good North Alabama cotton. And so that kind of got the, what if we made bedding? And that's obviously a big product, really, that would consume a lot of cotton, where, in an apparel piece, not so much. Bed sheets it was. And we worked with Cotton Incorporated. We took all of our classing information on the cotton that we grow and asked them what could we make with it. They confirmed we could make bedding with it, that it was good enough quality.
I didn't even
Um,
think about that. Yeah, that's a whole.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's so many layers. You think I'm going to make a product, and then you figure out why people don't do that. But we then started putting together our supply chain and meeting the vendors in person, kind of pitching them our idea, because our first run was relatively small. It was just 20,000 yards, which in the big scheme of things is quite small, but it was a big leap of faith for us because it's not insignificant either.
Right.
It's not like a couple thousand yards, and you could kind of test the waters. You kind of had to go all in on the first run. But those vendors helped us make what we wanted to make. And I say that because the initial conversation that we had was, why don't you go to a department store or wherever you typically get your sheets and find one, and we can kind of try to replicate that. And we just didn't think that was really cool. My family was talking with some of their friends, and one of their friends had a hope chest full of these heirloom linens.
Oh, that's so fun.
And they let us go through them. They all had this beautiful hand-done embroidery, hand-tatted lace, just really, really beautiful pieces that were all from roughly 1920s. They were kind enough to let us cut a piece off of the bottom of one flat sheet and send it to Cotton Incorporated, sent it to Parkdale, sent it to our weaving partner, Hamrick Mills in Gaffney, South Carolina. And we discovered what the yarn size was, what the weave construction was. That's how we decided what we were going to make. We replicated flat sheet from the 1920s. That was really cool, and I think gave us a unique starting point. Like, not only are we delivering you a product that is from our farm, it's made in America, but it's literally heirloom inspired. So having those three things be the pillars that we stood on from a brand perspective, I think gave us a great starting point.
What I find so interesting is once I've had a lot of conversations, but I've had several conversations now with various artisans. And what's interesting is so many of them come into their work having already established the craft. And so then their challenge is often pairing that craft with figuring out where they're sourcing supply.
Yeah.
Whereas you really started with supply and then had to develop the craft. Like you really had almost like a reverse experience, which is really interesting because that not that doing it the opposite way is less challenging, but it's an interesting approach because so many people come into this sort of thing like I'm going to create this artisan product and it's because I already know how to make the
Right. And
product.
we had no idea. I had no idea.
Yeah.
It was such a learning curve. But I think having those values and knowing where we wanted to be with it
Yeah.
really helped set the direction for it. But I think that that leads into the whole conversation about like the craft being essentially lost.
Yeah.
And I hear it all the time with vendors who are trying to source talent and employees, is that you get a lot of people out of school that want to go and design or source or be the buyer or whatever, but they have no structural knowledge of how the garment or the bedding or whatever is made. And that lack of knowledge is what makes it so extremely difficult to make things in America.
But also, but dually because the opportunity isn't there.
For sure. I mean, why would you learn? a skill if there's nowhere to apply it. But now you've gotten yourself in a situation. Yeah, there's no opportunity, but there's also a population that's phasing out that knew the skill, and there's nobody to pass it on to. And I think that's something that we're doing our best to try to change.
Can we talk a little bit more about that? Because one of the questions I was going to kind of ask you was about this textile, the production. I don't know if that's too broad of a phrase to use, but textile production and its disappearance in the United States. What does the future of this look like? Do you have thoughts, feelings that you want to share on that?
I really do believe that if the opportunities were there are people to fill them. As we were putting together our supply chain and as we continue to go and visit vendors up and down the supply chain, you go to these textile towns that were once booming and they're shells of themselves.
Mm,
But I mean, there are still people there, still people that want these kinds of jobs, that need these kinds of jobs, regardless of whether they're a landing and starting point or whether that it's a real career. In our hometown of Moulton, that is largely agricultural, there used to be a shirt factory there. And it employed a lot of people. There used to be a paper mill there. It employed a lot of people. Both of those have shut down. And you can feel the economic, like
repercussion.
literally the reason why these people have to shop at Walmart is because you have not provided them the jobs or anything else to give them any other option
Yeah.
other than to afford foreign made goods at Walmart. So we have two cut and sews that we run, one in Mississippi and one in Alabama. And the one in Alabama is literally connected to our warehouse. We literally make the product and wheel it in to our warehouse to go on the shelf. We started the workforce with an older set of people. We have thankfully been able to add a good bit of young people into our mix in their hometown. I mean, I truly think that those jobs are valid, good, and worthy of having in the United States. I could say the same thing for the plant in Mississippi. That population still knows how to sew.
Could you talk me through a little bit like the life of a sheet, process of creation from the time it's in your farm
Hmm.
to the time I can order it online?
Yep.
What does this look like?
It's roughly a 6 month process. We harvest our cotton every year in September, October. Sometimes it goes into November. We gin our own cotton too. Ginning is just removing the seed parts of the cotton plant as so it's mechanically picked in these massive cotton pickers. It goes into the gin as this massive 5,000 pound bale of cotton, and it comes out of the gin in a 500 pound bale, and that is what is sent to the spinner. As it's ginned, there's a portion that's taken out of every bale. It's tagged and sent to the USDA classing office. And the USDA grades each bale, gives us the data about how long the staple length is, so how long the fibers are, how strong they are, what the color is. Is it a bright white, a dull white, how clean it is? There's 5 or 6
Wow.
parameters it's graded on. So we're able to take that information and we work with our spinning partners, Parkdale Mills, and Hill Spinning are the two spinners that we work with. We work with them to determine which bales to send for spinning into yarn. And that's really the first step. It gets spun, it then gets woven
Okay.
into what we call a gray good cloth. The gray good is about 120 inches wide, and then it has to go to be finished. And in finishing, they take the sizing out that was, so they put like a starch on the yarn so it can withstand the friction of weaving. So they take the sizing out, they bleach it or dye it, put a print on it if there's printing available. Then it's shrunk. So the goods come in at 120 inches and they leave at about 112. That's what comes into our factories to be cut and sewn. And that's just the process for sheets. There's another process for towels. There's another process for blankets. It's all quite involved.
Yeah, this is a lot. That's wild.
And
And to
again,
learn that from nothing,
yeah,
like that's so crazy.
took a crash course.
Did you launch all of your products at one time, or did you start with sheets and then say, okay, let's get into towels. Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of a gradual process. We started with sheets, and it was literally just a set of bed sheets, then towels, and then we added quilts, and then we added blankets. We added prints and different colors, and then we got into some different collaborations too.
Well, let's talk about one of those collaborations because that's a big part of our conversation today and how you and I were connected. So, do you want to go ahead and kind of just tell that story of how this all came to be with Colonial Williamsburg? I
Sure.
guess is it craft and forge technically?
Yes, it was such an honor. They reached out to us in the fall of 2014, I believe it was.
Wow, was it that
And
long?
it was. Then in January of 2015, we went up to their archives, were able to source a bunch of inspiration. And it was just such a perfect little partnership as we were touring, and especially in the weaver's shop, some of the different locations on the Colonial Williamsburg campus. They're teaching the way that things used to be done. It's very similar to what we're trying to do too, is to educate how things used to be done and how you can apply that knowledge. We launched our first collection with them in the fall of 2015. There's just a lot of synergy between those that really appreciate Colonial Williamsburg and what its mission is, and those that resonate with Redland Cotton and choose to support what we're doing too.
Going back to your visit, I know it was a while ago, so I don't know how much of it feels like super clear to you at this point, but were there things that stood out to you in particular that really served as inspiration or that you're still using as inspiration?
What stands out to me the most is just the timelessness of some of the designs that we found in the archives. Things that were beautiful then are still beautiful now. A great gingham, a beautiful toile, geometric designs that we were able to pull from and put into a modern collection. It's still appreciated. I mean, you see that with their wallpapers and things like that too. Like true good design is just timeless. The collection that we did was browns and reds and creams. I think if we do anything in the future, we would like to get into the blues and whites. Who could go wrong with that?
Nobody. There's so much in their archives. They have so many prints and patterns. And did you find that you were specifically looking to textile pattern and color, or were you looking at wallpaper and getting inspired by wallpaper? Were you looking at China?
Yep, we took prints from the rare books
Mm.
in their rare books archives, took a lot of photography of their wallpaper, paint colors. I would say the textile portion, the primary thing that I really took from it is like the shapes that they were creating in their textiles, geometric and florals from a construction standpoint, taking more
Okay, so I was
inspiration.
going to ask you about this, like if you were actually using the fabric itself or the way things were assembled at all, as like a research.
Yes, so we made this coverlet was literally inspired by a coverlet we found there, almost like tried to recreate it somewhat. And all it was just like this simple square pattern. But it was so pretty. But then this like gold throw that we made, the pattern that our weaving partner, Main Heritage, made was based off of a wallpaper clipping. The gold color was taken from a paint chip in the palace.
I am curious if we want to talk about the craftsmanship of it all for a second. Your family takes great pride in the fact that this is American made. Also, the fact that you're one of few doing this. You've mentioned several partners. Could we talk for a second about what those relationships look like as far as the preservation of the American craftsmanship?
I think it's so vital. And I don't necessarily love that we're one of a few. I
Mm-hmm.
think that there needs to be more of us doing this because when the plants that are still in existence, when they were built for production. They weren't made for little one-off here and there's. They were meant for work. A brand like Redland Cotton, I mean, we've been able to grow with them. Where we are now, we're significant business for them, but they need more. Our blanket partner, I know, has been able to add jobs because of the work that we're doing together. And I think we've been partnered with them for 6 years now. That sort of impact is the reason I wake up every day and continue to do this. I really think that supplying a quality American made product and uplifting Americans' lives is is what we are set out to do from a community perspective. But we do have to get to our kind of previous conversation, more young people involved in the craft of doing it. It's always encouraging to me when I go into a plant and I see young faces. I was in a plant on Thursday and the owner's son was in from college and he was working. It's challenging to be the only female in the room
Mm.
and the only person in their 30s or under 50. There needs to be more respect and appreciation for kind of coming back to a craft that's somewhat been lost. Like, I want my daughter to learn sewing, and she's interested. Like, she's only 8 years old. I mean, she comes to the factory with me. She likes to sit with the sewers. She's bedazzled some of their machines. All of that is so important.
I think there's an appreciation that can come from the exposure to how things are made.
It is.
What sorts of care or conversations do we need to be aware of when you're wanting to create something that is pure?
Mm-hmm.
Is there other stuff that has to come into the creation of product? Or are they just literally taking cotton and shifting and shaping its forms? Like this is where I'm like, I know nothing.
For the most part, it is really just shifting its form. The only part in the process that there is like things added to it is during a process, the finishing process. That is an area that we've really struggled with this year. Our finisher closed in October. The fabric had already left the factory for that collaboration at that time, but replacing that piece in the supply chain has been so, so challenging. I think it really does speak to the craft and the lack of it, the lack of knowledge of processing cotton goods. So many of the finishers that we have left are very largely processing polyesters and other man-made fibers. As we visit and we talk through these things, cotton is just so much more hard to deal with. And I bet they would say the same thing for a linen or anything that is more natural. There's excess lint involved. There's the all the different variables that go into processing a cotton. It's not as stable as polyester. It's not consistent like a man-made good.
It's so interesting hearing you say this because it's like, what do you mean working with natural fibers would be this challenging lost art? But I guess we just regress when we progress.
Yeah.
Wow.
The cheaper, easier, more uniform thing that's not really good for us. The positive here, though, is that so many companies have stepped up to just give it a go and relearn. To get back to your question, though, what goes into the finishing is most finishers won't exactly tell you what they're using because it's all relatively proprietary chemistry, but they're using some sort of vinegar-like solution to take that starch off. They're using dyes. They'll put a softener, and that can be a vegetable softener. It can be a silicone softener. It can be I have animal fat. And then they put stabilizers on it to get it to withstand your home laundry. So if you didn't put a stabilizer on it, it would just shrink like the dickens and wrinkle up on itself. In our sewing, we'll use some polyester sewing thread.
Okay.
Like it's got a polyester core with cotton wrapped around it just to get its life expectancy up a little bit, especially in the fitted sheet. Like, I mentioned the Hope chest earlier. There's
Hmm.
no fitted sheets in the Hope chest. There are pillowcases and there are flat sheets. And I mean, back in the 1920s, they were using flat sheets as their fitted sheets. But the fitted sheet gets most of the abuse and friction and pulling and tugging on that mattress. So if there's going to be wear and tear, that's usually
Where
the
it will
piece
happen.
that we
Yeah.
see. Yeah.
This is so interesting to me. And sorry, I'm probably asking such rudimentary questions, but I really have no, like, this is such a new world linked to this Hope Chest and even your Williamsburg visit. Why do you think textiles would potentially help with carrying history forward, not just in the craftsmanship, but just like as a product?
Textiles and getting the degree in graphic design, we took at least three art history classes. So much art was in textiles, traditions passed down in textiles. Read the Bible, and there's pages and pages about the importance of the textiles that the priests wear and that the temple was made of. And like textiles are important, and they have been important since the dawn of time, and particularly for women. I hate to make anything gender specific because I mean, I've met a lot of great men in textiles, but when we look at like the communities that were really affected by the mass exodus of textile jobs,
Hmm.
I think women were really affected. There's something very feminine and beautiful about textile art and just the art of creating in general that we seem to have kind of removed from women.
I want to stick with this Hope Chest for a second because I actually love that you brought that up because I was going to talk to you about heirlooms. And I love that you actually, I didn't even know going into this that this, you were going to mention that this really all not came from that idea, but that you used that as significant inspiration and research for yourselves. I would argue that most people maybe don't think as bedding as something that is passed down, particularly in like today's world. It barely will last your lifetime, depending on where you're getting it. In times where bedding was made better and it was less perhaps readily available, like you couldn't just go to Target and see 47 different kinds. They were kind of family heirlooms or they were passed down. So why, I mean, maybe I just answered it, but like, why do you think we've lost some of that mindset? But then also what makes an object worth caring for?
I have always, in my design world and in my art world and in this business too, drawn inspiration from the past, from heirlooms, from when things seem to have a bit more detail and purpose to them instead of just being an object. That has always been a source of inspiration to me, whether it was my grandmother's things, old magazines, like that's just something that I love and appreciate so much. We're always repeating the past. We're always referencing the past. The past influences us so much. Why not draw inspiration from it? If our grandparents and our great grandparents saw fit to save certain things, trying to find the purpose in them, I think is an important thing. Where do I feel like we fall into it? At a baseline level, we are working toward creating products that are made with quality materials, not trying to skimp on the resources there. There's 7 pounds of cotton in each sheet set that we make. We hand a bag to the customer and they're like, oh my goodness, it's heavy. That's why it lasts. And I think about the things that I've chosen to save or frame that I consider heirlooms, and it is handmade things, embroidered or monogrammed, or that are a callback to a time you want to remember. Like I have this one handmade dress that was given to me for my first daughter when I was pregnant with her. She wore it to her baptism. It's just such a special piece. And it's so special because it was handmade. And I was telling the person that gifted it to me, like it's more precious than even the nicest like Feltman Brothers garment that I could buy because it was handmade. It's one of a
Yeah.
kind. It's a special piece. We can't, as a Redland Cotton, manufacture one unique piece per person and it be I mean, like that's economically not
It's not feasible.
viable. But what we can do is put quality ingredients into things, handle things with care, provide our customer a good, solid product that they can feel good about. I think what we see time and time again in reviews and in questionnaires that we send out, people are shopping with us because they resonate with who we are as a brand, that our values align, the intention and the process behind it.
I talk about legacy a lot here, not just on the heirloom side of things, but is there something that you want people to take away from not just your company, but the products that you're providing to them?
I want the main takeaway to be that we can still create with the raw product that we grow so well. I'll go back to the farm for a little bit, but the United States used to be one of the leading producers of cotton. More and more cotton is grown where it's manufactured, which would be China, India, Pakistan. That hurts American farmers. There's also the craft of growing food and things that we use for clothing ourselves. That's another concern. Not only a lack of understanding and knowledge in the production of things, but also the growing of things. And the two feed on each other.
So I would love to ask you where people can find you. I will preface this by saying whatever you share, I will also put into the show notes.
They can shop anytime at redlandcotton.com. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, X at Redland Cotton.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. This was eye-opening, inspiring. I am just appreciate your time and your hard work in making all of this happen.
Well, thank you so much. It was such a great conversation. I really enjoyed it.